Hey y'all, it's Tasha. We are back with another video. Thank you so much for stopping into my channel. I'm gonna say it again because I say it every video and I still see a lot of y'all clicking on this video to watch, but you are not subscribed. If you keep coming back, just hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a video. Just click it real quick. That's all we need. All right, now let's move on. So we are back with another episode of Married at First Sight, season 13, episode 7, Home Not Alone is what they called it. So we're going to jump right in because I'm tired. These episodes are long. I'm trying to gather as much information as I can, and I feel like I'm getting a lot, but still like not a lot is happening. Like I'm just so confused all the time. Like, how do I have so many notes, but I feel so unfulfilled from the episode? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so couples are all back home. Looks like we'll get some visits from the experts. So I'm glad to see them stepping in early this go around because we know, how that went down last season. But with the show, it starts off with Rachel and Jose on their flight back. They have no mask on, so I'm confused as to why they're on the airplane with no mask on. Anyway, we get to witness Bao and her snoring because we see her asleep on the airplane. And I was like, yeah, Johnny, I understand now. I understand. I would be upset if she was on my flight. Brett and Ryan say that this flight was better than the one before. So, yay. All the couples get back to Houston and they begin to check out their new apartment since they are all, of course, at the same apartment complex since they started doing this a few seasons ago. Rachel and Jose check out their apartment. He says he doesn't believe in dishwashers, and I'm like, excuse me, what's wrong with a dishwasher? It washes a lot of dishes all at once. It saves water. It saves my hands from getting all wrinkled. What's the problem? So I'm like, he has to have control over the dishes too, like the finances, the dishes, the cleanliness, like everything. He just has to have everything under his control. It's a bit possessive. Okay. Rachel says that she's going to get up and go to the gym at 5 a.m. But in order to do that, she has to set 4 alarms. So her alarms are going to start at 4 a.m. Then they're going to go off every 15 minutes. So I'm like, you need a whole hour of alarms to get up at 5 a.m. Girl, that would annoy the hell out of me. Like, I don't get it, but okay. Then we see that Gil and Mirla are on their way to their apartment, and he picks her up and carries her over the threshold as he did when they got to their hotel room from getting married. And Mirla is not impressed, but are we surprised? Absolutely not. She thought it was corny. But she does share that the apartment is up to her standards, which we know is a plus, and it's a big one because it can sometimes take a lot to make Mirla happy. So yay. So then we see Brent and Ryan. They love their new apartment. Brent says he's excited, but he forgot to tell his face that he was excited because it's still just the same blank face we've been seeing for all these episodes. But Brent just realized that, I'm going to have to consider him in, all aspects of my life. I just may want to come home and just go to bed, or I may want to go to the gym at 10 o'clock, and I'm going to have to think about this other person. And I'm like, Brent, girl, yes, that's how this works. Yes. So Bao and Johnny gets to their apartment, and Bao basically does an inspection of their apartment. And I'm thinking the same thing Johnny says of, guys, sometimes Bao just takes the fun out of things. Like, it can be such a fun and lighthearted moment, and she just turns it into everything. Oh, there's no ice maker. There's double ovens. Look at this and look at that. And I'm just like, why does it have to be so serious in this moment? Like, the way she goes from like 0 to 100, she can be really goofy and playful, and then she gets really stern and serious about certain topics where it's like flipping a light switch. So I can understand how Johnny gets a little bit frustrated, but she seems to be so structured in other aspects of her life, but yet she doesn't want to bathe every day. Make it make sense, because I don't get it. But she has to say again how she isn't going to shower before bed. And I'm just like, it takes 5 minutes to wash your ass, jump in the shower, come out, go to bed. It's not that hard. Like, if not for yourself, do it for him. But especially the fact that he is putting up with her snoring that she knows bothers him, although he is still trying to just, suck it up and be a team player, that if he can put up with that, why can't you sacrifice your funk and just get in the shower? I don't get it. But as they eat dinner, Johnny says that he's going to go home after they eat because he says it's just been a lot. He needs to decompress. He says that he's conflicted with his feelings because of kind of the differences that came up with them. And he just has some concerns and he just needs some space in the marriage. Of course, Bao does not like that. And she's like, if he's just not going to put in the effort and he's just going to duck and run, I'm not going to stop him. I'm just going to let him go. And I'm like, girl, you don't even want to put in the effort to take a 5-minute shower. Cut out the dramatics. Because Bao, you cannot pick and choose when you want to make things a big deal. But then when he asks you to do basic life skills, you have a problem with that. Okay, but he says he just needs to be alone. He needs to reset his mind. She says it's fine, but she's obviously being very, very passive aggressive in the scene. But I believe that she's pretty much just disappointed in him. And I feel bad because I feel like Johnny is being really transparent and not leaving anything up to really guessing or interpretation on her end. But everybody can't take the truth no matter how gentle I feel like his approach is, and he's being with her. If it's not what she wants to hear, she's going to get upset. And that's kind of where I feel like Bao is with Johnny at this point. So we then see that Zack finally leaves Florida, and he says it's been 5 days. So I'm assuming quarantine now at this point is 10 days and not the 14 days. So they usually start counting the first day from when you first start experiencing symptoms. So since he kind of said, I believe he started feeling not so good even maybe before the wedding or at the wedding. So I guess that's why his quarantine seems like it's over with a little bit quicker than the 10 days. But we finally see them reconnect this episode, and I'm so excited about it. They then flash back to Johnny and Bao. He says he's always heard that marriage is hard, and it's only been a week, child, and he already experiencing the hardships of marriage. I said, Bao, you are stressing this man out, girl. Anyway, during this episode, they also go visit each other home so they can kind of get a view of how the person, currently lives, introduce pets and things like that. So we first see Ryan comes over to Brent's place and gets to meet her dog Baxter, which is a cute little white fluffy dog. He's so cute. But this is probably the most excited that I've seen Ryan when he's, tussling with the dog and having a good time. I was like, oh, he really likes something. I can tell he really likes the dog because he shows more excitement this time than he does anytime he's communicating with Brent. And then Ryan says, I don't know if y'all catch it, but he says that this should be different because he hasn't shared a space with a significant other in over 15 years. And I'm like, if I remember correctly, most of the individuals here, except for Zack being the youngest, most of them are like 32 through 35, if I'm remembering correctly. So I'm like, if it's been over 15 years since you've shared space with a significant other, were you like in your late teens shacking up with somebody? Like, this is the story. I need more details because this seems more interesting than anything you've given us thus far, Ryan. But next they see Rachel goes to Jose's house, and when I saw him in this scene of opening the door and letting her in, the light bulb moment went off of finally who he reminded me of and why maybe I've associated him with being so feminine. But if y'all 80s babies grew up in the 90s, y'all love Clueless just like I did, as if that was my movie, even the TV show I liked. But the guy that Cher was dating, so before she, of course, started messing with Josh, the stepbrother, the other guy that she was dancing with at a party, and he was dancing real feminine, and then he started dancing with some of the guys. I'll try to insert a picture if I remember so that you guys can get a visual of what I'm saying. But he reminds me so much of that guy, and I'm just like, that is who the person that I associate him with is that guy from Clueless. So funny. But he cannot wait to, show her his bedroom, his clean bedroom, and his sectional with his reclining sofa. And he's just walking around with his Yeti cup in his hand, and he's just going on and on and on. And on and on and on, as if he's on an episode of Cribs talking about his house. And I am just like, shut up, Jose. Shut up. She then sees the whiteboard of the budget in his room, and he's like, wait, you do something like this? And she's like, absolutely not to this extent. No, sir. I keep track of my bills. I ain't doing all this budgeting to this extent. No. And again, this will continue to be an issue for them. And I truly don't see a resolve because he is so strict on this. And I almost think it's a piece of his identity. So I don't know how smoothly or quickly he will be able to let that part go. And I think if she doesn't come 100% on board with where he is, he will not even be able to let go a little bit of it to compromise, to meet her halfway. So I don't know if that's gonna work. Anyway, next Gil goes over to Mirila's apartment to see, you know, her wall of pictures of herself where she has, you know, all her trips that she's been on. She has her, you know, collage of her bikini pictures. They then head to her closet. He's able to see all of her designer pieces. And man, I'm like, this girl spends a lot in luxury items. Like, to see all the Louboutin, the Chanel, the Louis Vuitton, it was just like, whoa. Like, I mean, if you can afford it, great, but that is a lot of money when you look at the cost of that stuff. Of most of those shoes at a very, very low end are like $600-700, and they go up from there. So that's quite a bit of money. And he's talking about, you know, well, how often do you do that? And she's like, you know, I may go out shopping, you know, for that, you know, maybe some luxury shoes 2 to 3 times a year. So I'm like, why do we need so many? Are you wearing these type of shoes like every day? Like, that's a lot. Maybe I don't wear enough heels. I don't know, but that's a lot for me. But she says she doesn't even keep count of how much she spends on shoes. So I'm like, well, there's that. Then Brent goes over to Ryan's place and their dogs meet, and they both have 2 really adorable dogs. One is really little, one is really big, but they're both so white and fluffy and just, they're absolutely adorable. But Baxter ain't about the ish. He only about 10 pounds, which is Brent's dog, and he ain't with the ish. And he's like, get this dog away from me. I'm done playing now. And he about to, you know, see my gangster side. And I'm just like, this 80-pound dog that he has will eat you alive. Cut it out, Baxter. Cut it out. And then Ryan says that Brent is really stressed about the dogs. And I'm just like, she doesn't seem very stressed. And it's starting to bother me how the choice of words that he used sometimes when describing her. I feel that his choice of words, unless we are, again, not seeing something, really elevates the situation to make it worse than what it looks like we're seeing. And I don't like that. I don't like him putting some of these words and labels on her. Maybe it's just me. I don't. Anyway, Jose goes to Rachel's house. He immediately starts to go in, talks about some water bottles that she has right at the front of the door. And he's like, I probably would have go ahead and throw that in the trash. He continues to go throughout her apartment and critique pretty much everything, even her little collection of pencils that she's collected from her travels. And he's like, you know what, do we need to keep all of them? And she's like, you trying to tell me I ain't gonna have nowhere to put my pencils? I'm just like, they're pencils, Jose. They are pencils. Oh God, he gets on my nerves. Like, geez. She then shows him this little globe that has all these little cubes and things of places that she wants to go. And she's like, oh, we can just pull from here, you know, go somewhere. And she happens to pull it. And I think it was like Spain or something. And he's like, ugh, probably not that. And starts to go in again about how, you know, trips and things like that are just so expensive. I'm like, a trip anywhere can be expensive. Even a domestic trip can be expensive by the time you're talking about, you know, flight rental cars or Ubers and foods and what you want to do when you get there and souvenirs and everything. Everything can be as expensive or as cheap as you want it. I don't get his obsession with money. And again, that's why I say I think it's a piece of him. And it's just now ingrained, because I don't understand when you say you've done all this saving, you paid off all this debt, you have your house, like you have all these things in place to add in your wife so that she really doesn't have to worry about that stuff. But then you don't want your wife to travel because you want to just continue to save all of your money. I'm like, budget for the trip and go is not that deep, Jose. It is not that deep. You getting on my nerves as if that's anything new, but okay. Brent goes over to Ryan's house. Basically, it's just 12 Shades of Brown. And she isn't a fan of the deer head that he has on his wall, and I'm not either, so I'm with you on that. Mirla goes over to Gil's house, and she's, of course, immediately turned off by the dog. She sees water on the floor. She says she can smell dog, and she is like, oh, God, where is the dog? I know it's coming. I'm like, girl, you knew he had a dog. Cut it out. But he bends down and he greets the dog and everything like that. It looks like the dog licks him in the mouth, although he says he doesn't do kisses in the mouth. It seemed like that was it. I ain't down for that either, Mirla, but you ain't kissing him, so what's the problem? Just let him get kisses from somebody at this point. We go back to Johnny and Bao, and he's coming back from staying the night at his own place the night before. And of course, Bao is in her feelings, although she's kind of like, oh, I'm just brushing it off. I'm okay, but I feel like I'm a little bit more emotionally mature in this relationship. And I'm like, Bao, I don't necessarily agree with that, because I feel like Johnny is pushing himself and being pretty open with his feelings and emotions and kind of getting things out and not bottling them up, or not being able to just swipe right as he's used to doing when things are getting kind of hard. So I don't agree with her saying that she's the emotionally mature one in the relationship, because I think being able to accurately express your feelings to somebody is emotionally mature as well. So I ain't like her saying that, Bao. Get it together. But Johnny says that his time away was very therapeutic, and he is now, new. He's come back with an open mind. He says that some things that he thought was really important, maybe from the day or the night before, that, it's just in the moment. It really doesn't matter at this point, and it's worth compromising. And he really just wants to focus on, them being together and compromising and just working things out. So again, I was very proud of Johnny, because, this is uncomfortable for him to not just be able to just walk away and to really stick it out. So kudos, Johnny. We finally get to see Zack and Michaela. Yay. And he surprises her for a visit. He says that he told her that he was still testing positive for COVID, so he could not come visit her, but actually he was tested, and he tested negative, so he's able to surprise her. She had a cute little 1-week anniversary gift set up for him, which was so cute. And Zack basically says, I'm ready to, touch on her more when these cameras leave, so we can do the grown up. And I'm like, I don't blame you. It's been, over a week since you've seen your wife. Do your thing, Zack. Do your thing. We then see the first expert visit of the episode, with Pastor Cal going to visit Jose and Rachel. As soon as he walked through the door and I saw Jose next to Pastor Cal, I was like, wow, this man is little. Like, he looks so short and little. Next to Pastor Cal. Y'all, call me shallow, call me petty, but that would be a deal breaker for me. I don't want no little man. No, thank you. No, sir. No, ma'am. But they tell Pastor Cal that they're doing well, and, they're just smitten with each other, and they, talk about their differences with budgeting, and basically how he kind of wants to just have so much control over it. And that's where he just gets on my nerves, because you don't have to have complete control over everything, Jose. Like, stop it. I know she may not be at your level, but she's an adult, and y'all will be okay figuring it out together. I don't get it. But he asks if they have consummated their marriage, and they say yes, which I don't think any of us are surprised. So I wonder if they were lying when they were with the other couples, or if they, between that last dinner and now, they had done it. I don't care, to be honest. Rachel said it was a bit scary, because she doesn't want sex to really cloud their judgment of, just, being so sexually attracted to each other that you're not really focusing in on differences. And I'm always agreeing with that. I feel like every season some couple brings that up, and I definitely agree with that. But I hate how Pastor Cal kind of just brushed it off. He was like, yeah, okay, but I don't want you to put the brakes on it. Y'all have been matched, and you've been matched for a reason. So the sparks should just fly initially. You guys should just basically be all over each other. And I'm like, you didn't provide her any reassurance in this point or advice to the concern that she said that she had, other than just keep having sex. Do better, Pastor Cal. Do better. Michaela and Zack, they finally get to look at their new apartment, and their dogs get to meet in person, and it seems they get along a little bit better than Ryan and Brett's dogs. They talk about if they, you sleep in? Do you go to bed early? Zack then asks, if we have an argument or get upset, are you the type to just walk away and leave? And she's like, no, I wouldn't do that. I think that's kind of emotionally abusive to just, not answer texts, not answer phones, and just leave and walk away. And Zack agrees. And the minute they show this, I'm like, this is going to come back in 5, 4, 3, 2. Soon and very soon, we're going to see this being thrown right back in our face. Johnny then goes to Bao's house, and he go to her bathroom, and this girl has tissue, wet wipes, and a bidet. So at this point, I'm like, so Bao, are you clean or are you dirty? I'm confused as to which one you are. Or is it just bathroom hygiene? You just want the private parts to be clean after you use the bathroom, but forget the rest of the body. Is that? Can you provide some clarity? I'm just unsure of how this works because it don't make sense, but okay. She goes to Johnny's house. She thinks his house could use a little bit sprucing up, and I'm like, maybe it can, but not necessarily from you. But I thought his house was cute. Like, it was nice and clean and everything matched for a little bachelor pad. I didn't see a problem in it. Brian and Rent get a visit from Pastor Cal, and Ryan says that Brittany's one of the coolest people that he's ever met, and she's kind of looking at him like, oh, that was nice because you've never told me that. And again, I'm like, I just don't see the connection with these two, but here we are. She says that he has a softer side. He really takes care of everyone, and it, makes her trust him a lot. Okay. And again, his choice of words of describing her rears his ugly head again, because as he's telling Pastor Cal how she reacted to his deer head in his house, she's like, yeah, she had a bit of a traumatic experience. I'm like, traumatic? That's the word we're going to use? Traumatic? From what we saw, she did not have a traumatic. Was she shocked? Maybe yes. Traumatic? No. So what? Y'all, am I making too big of a deal? Let me know if y'all picked up on him saying these words. And I believe he said some last episode. And of course, we know he kind of talked about it being real dramatic with her flying, which I don't know how bad that was, but it seemed pretty, he was pretty agitated about it. So I don't know. Just let me know if I'm making a big deal out of it. But they share that they have not consummated their marriage. No surprise there, because I don't even know if he really is feeling her like that, but okay. But they say that they're happy with their level of intimacy. At this point, Ryan said things are moving a little bit slower than he had anticipated, but he seems to be cool with it. They talk about how they feel about each other. She says she has a crush on him and starts to blush, and it's cute, but again, he does not really use this opportunity to reassure her that he has some type of feelings for her. Like, normally if somebody was to say that, you would be like, oh, you maybe brush their cheek or brush their hair or, brush their hand or rub their back or something. And he just sits there. And I'm like, the body language says it all, Ryan. The body language says it all. But he says that he likes her. He thinks he could see them getting past that and get into falling in love, which Brent had to kind of break down for us. And I said, well, if y'all say so, I guess we can believe what y'all say. But he says he's in love with someone when he values the other person other than himself. And Pastor Cal's like, yeah, so you don't feel that with her right now. And he's like, no, not yet. And I hated that Pastor Cal even asked that, because he does not feel like that about her. They've only known each other a week. And it almost looked like Brent was a little bit disappointed that he said no. But I'm like, girl, again, you've only known each other a week. He does not value you more than he values himself. Like, why would you be confused that he doesn't feel that way thus far? And Pastor Cal, why would you even ask him that? So all the couples wake up in their new apartment. So we see a kind of collage of some of them, and then we bust over to Zack and Michaela. And because of where the camera is, and I don't have a good idea of how the apartment is situated, it looks like I can't tell if Zack is walking into the apartment at 7:15 or walking out of the apartment at 7:15. But I'm assuming because she can't find him that he was walking out, even though she didn't go back in the direction that he came from. So I couldn't tell which was the exit and which was a bedroom. But I guess he had left at 7:15. They showed an hour later. She was looking around the apartment for him. She couldn't find him. She got really upset and like banged some wipes or something on the table. And I was like, Michaela, girl, calm down. But she says he wasn't answering no phone calls, no texts, anything. So she packed up her stuff and she was like, I am leaving. And I'm like, again, They just had this conversation, and I knew it was going to be full circle before we even got out this episode. Pastor Cal then goes to see Gil and Mirla, and he jumps right in to see how things are progressing with them. We know that they haven't really talked about finances, not really anything past, her love of buying her luxury items. They shared that they did have a conversation about her not shopping so much, of that being an option, and she straight up said, no, not so much, because she said she doesn't have a problem with it if she does everything that she's supposed to do, and she still has $1,000 that she wants to spend on shopping. She doesn't see the big deal. So Pastor Cal kind of has to help her connect the dots of now you're married, and that would be considered a large purchase, and you would want to consult and discuss with your spouse. And I'm like, yeah, Mila girl, that's how it works when you get married. I mean, if y'all can decide to whatever you want to do with your money, you do with your money, as long as the bills are paid and there's really no mutual savings and stuff going on, do what you do. But I would want y'all to discuss and compromise and come to a solution on that first, because y'all have not so far. Pastor Cal talks about intimacy, and the climax for them, y'all, is touching hands, holding hands, resting hands. That is all they are doing. And I'm like, poor Gil. He asks if they want to have sex, and Marila's like, yeah, eventually. And Gil is just like, yes, no, eventually, just yes. I said, this man is so tired. But she says she just wants to get to know him better. And she, the intimacy will come. So even with the kissing, she's like, that is still very much so intimate, and I am just not there yet. And again, I don't know how you compromise on that, because you can't force someone to do something they don't want to do. And although Gil is like, no, I'll wait, I don't have a problem with it, it's still in a sense depriving him of what he wants. Although he did say that he asked her if, would you be able to go through the whole 8 weeks and not kiss? And she was like, yeah. And he said, if we do that, I'm going to say no on decision day. So he seemed pretty firm in what he says. But again, that is kind of contradicting of, no, I'll just wait. Whenever she's comfortable, I'm fine. No, you're not really fine. Just be honest so that, we can move on with this. So we go back to Zack and Michaela. They're sitting on the couch. She is obviously back home because they're about to have a visit from Pastor Cal. But, Zack is asking her, are you okay? And he's like, no, I can tell she's not okay. And she's like, yeah, I'm okay. And I'm like, can y'all stop faking the funk and just get this argument over with? Because we know that's what it's going to lead down to. But he says that he had went to put the dog to bed. And I'm like, put the dog to bed? The dog can't just go in his bed and go to sleep. You got to rock it to sleep, tell it a bedtime story. What we got to do, Zack, for the dog to go to bed? But anyway, he said he went to put the dog to bed, and he ended up falling asleep with the dog. And then once he did wake up, he woke up, and then he took the dog to doggy daycare. And apparently it seemed like that was between the time frame that Michaela woke up, and he's saying it was a couple hours. And I'm like, geez, how far away is the dang on doggy daycare? But she's basically very frustrated because he just didn't communicate any of that with her. And I see both sides, that I feel like she got real hot-headed real fast and kind of blew up over what seems to be such a minor situation. But I also know that, emotions are high because they have not been around each other. So they're really trying to make up for lost time. But also, Zack, it was as simple as sending a text, calling her, or just leaving a note on the counter. Like, that could have been so simple, but y'all rather make it hard, like Lauryn Hill say. But basically, they kind of start to go back and forth. Zack says that he's reached his limit with talking to her about this, and basically they are saved by the knock at the door of Pastor Cal coming in. He comes in pretty awkward because you can tell that they've, just done something has just happened, that they sitting on opposite ends of the couch and things just don't look all cute and cuddly how they should just a week after getting married. But anyway, Pastor Cal comes in and he's like, how's it going? And Michaela's like, I realize you guys have matched me with, a strong, dynamic man. And Pastor Cal kind of immediately cuts in and says, that's just like you. And she's like, you got me there. You got me. So Michaela keeps making this face. So as Zack starts talking and he's kind of telling Pastor Cal that they kind of got into their first argument, she's really making this face of like, you dirty dog, this is some BS. I don't believe nothing coming out your mouth. Like, that is the look she's giving him. And Zack is just like, what is with the looks? Like, I'm gonna need you just to, what is the problem? Like, just say it. Just say it. And basically, she's like, she has a guard up. So that's why she's giving so much attitude. She says she's nervous and she starts to cry. And this basically boils back down to her dad of, her feeling a sense of abandonment from her dad passing away and him kind of being the person that was supposed to protect her. So with Zack just leaving and not saying anything, she felt that same sense of abandonment from him in that situation. And I really don't know what the solution for that is, because of course I don't know what that feeling is to experience the loss of a parent, for that to be so great. But she has to have some other way to deal with that trigger of feeling like she's being abandoned when she's really not in this situation, because that's going to get old real fast, of really popping off so hot and heavy so fast, for issues that don't negate that. So I don't know what the fix is, but I think the experts definitely need to be involved to figure out how to help her address and deal with that trigger, so that she does not feel like, every time somebody kind of leaves and doesn't necessarily give clear instructions of where they are when they're coming back, that she does not feel completely abandoned by them. But they basically reconcile. Zack moves in a little bit closer, begins to console her, and he says that, I will be here for you. I'll be the support that you need. And she's like, I don't want to put all that on you. And Pastor Cal is like, the man is saying he can handle it. Let him handle it. And I'm like, yes, let him handle it and be there for you, girl, because you ain't got it all by yourself. Just let him take a little bit of it. Lastly, we see Pastor Cal go see Johnny and Bao. They talk about the challenges that they've had, because Pastor Cal kind of mentions that they have talked to him individually. So now he's coming to them together. So whenever that was. But Johnny says he thinks most of their arguments have come because they just went so deep so fast, when generally when you're getting to know somebody, you wouldn't go that deep so fast. Bao then talks about her snoring again and how she feels Johnny was dismissive of her feelings. She says that she feels like she has to initiate most of the physical touch. And I was confused in this point, because she said that physical touch was at the bottom of the totem pole for her love language. So I'm like, maybe he's set up that boundary because you have said that you're not big on physical touch. So he's kind of leaving the ball in your arena until you get more comfortable and you feel like you want to do more physical touch. So I was confused when she said that. So I was like, do you want it or do you not want it? Maybe you need to just share that and make it known that maybe you've had, a change of heart, if you truly have. Feel like now you want physical touch and that's not a boundary that you have really up anymore. Johnny says that he feels that he has, but obviously just between the two of them, it's just not translating. What he feels like he's doing is not translating as satisfying the need that she has for him. So just, talking about that and getting over that. Pastor Cal asks if he isn't attracted to her, and he kind of takes a deep pause where you can really tell that he's trying to think and gather his words to figure out what he's going to say to her, and not really hurt her feeling. And Pastor Cal recognizes that as well, and is just like, come on, just kind of like, you just got to say it, just spit it out. But he says that when she gets happy and excited, she kind of gets giddy like a child. And he says the same way when she kind of makes advances towards him. It's kind of like, give me a kiss. Like, she kind of turns into this kid. And he says that just turns him completely off. Of course, Bao gets in her feelings about it immediately, because it's kind of, she says it's a part of her. She says it's how she expresses her joy. And a lot of people don't see that part of her, and she really kind of reserves that for the person that she's with. So while it seems to be very important for her and like a huge step emotionally for her to, show him that side, it's a little bit annoying for him. And again, I see both sides of this, but I feel like this is something they can find a middle ground on, of Johnny just realizing this is just how she expressed her joy. Like, just don't take it so seriously in the moment. Like, just fall into her being giddy, let it last for the 2 or 3 minutes, and then move along. And then I also think Bao can do a little bit of work and turn it on and turn it off when necessary. And when it's, a romantic, serious, situation that they're in, leaving it turned off at that point. But if y'all are just, goofing off and joking around, turn it on, and I think everything will be all good. But think they just have to, you know, learn how to just maneuver that between each other. But that's basically how the episode goes off this week. Next week, it looks like we'll get some, you know, housewarming or just a little party or something with some of their friends and family coming over. Looks like Jose and Johnny continue to get some type of bromance going on, and looks to be, you know, more tears going. So this is really when the episodes get interesting, once they've gotten back home and start to really integrate their regular everyday lives. So I am looking forward to next week. Please drop down in the comments below and let me know what you guys thought about this episode this week as well. And we'll chat it up in the comments below. Until next week, peace.